Hello and welcome to the Historic Theater here at the beautiful Riley Center in downtown Meridian as Twin States News presents the Democratic candidates for Mayor of Meridian. We want to thank Mississippi State University for allowing us the use of the Riley Center for our debate today. Voters in Meridian will go to the polls April 6th to choose the Democratic candidate for mayor in Meridian, and we have 4 of those 5 Democratic candidates with us today. Let us meet them. We have them seated alphabetically. First of all, let me introduce the current mayor, Percy Bland.
Thank you.
Sitting next to him is a member of the Meridian City Council right now, Councilwoman Kim Houston.
Hello.
Next, we have Randall Jennings, a certified teacher.
Good evening.
And next, we have Jimmy Smith, a former Lauderdale County supervisor.
Good evening.
A 5th candidate, Tyrone Johnson, was invited. He is not with us this evening. Here's the format for our debate today. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes opening statements, at which time will be a question and answer series, questions that we got from local business folks, Meridian citizens, community leaders, asking these candidates about the future of the city of Meridian. The candidates will each answer the same question and will have 1 minute to answer. We have a timekeeper who will give them a 10-second countdown, and then at the end of that, there will be a 2-minute closing statement. So candidates, if we are ready, we will begin. First of all, sitting alphabetically, we'll begin our opening statements with Mayor Percy Bland. Mayor?
First of all, thank you to Twin States for having this debate, and thank you to the citizens of Meridian for letting me serve as your mayor for the last 2 terms. Over the last 2 terms, we have made great progress and strides in our city. We have totally transformed downtown Meridian. We have a new 3-foot hotel coming up. We have the Max. We also have the Children's Museum. We're going to have our first downtown brewery. All of this excitement brings new visitors, new money to our city so that we can end up putting that money back to improve our educational system, improving our streets, getting more police officers on the streets, and that is exactly what we intend to do. We want to keep this momentum going, and I want you to move forward with the momentum that we have made in this city and vote for me April 6th as, again, the mayor of the city of Meridian. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bland. Now we'll hear from Kim Houston, who is a councilwoman for the Meridian City Council. Ms. Houston.
Good afternoon again, everyone. And again, we say thank you to Twin States News and everybody involved in putting this event on. And also kudos to the mayoral candidates who decided to take time out of their schedule to take part in this event. Of getting our platform out for people to make an informed decision on April the 6th. I'm no stranger to the city of Meridian. I have served on the Meridian City Council since 2013, and I was elected 3 times by my peers to serve as president. And I have a real vision for the city of Meridian that will move us in a completely different direction, because none of the things that have been done has been done alone. And it takes someone that's willing to lead with a sense of passion, honesty, transparency, and with a vision. My vision includes making sure that we have an economic development task force that will be focused on bringing industry to our city. My vision, when I talk about unity and community, we're talking about having a community policing advisory council where we have people that actually live in Meridian and have a vested interest in Meridian, ending crime and stopping crime, slowing it down, but our emphasis is on crime and bridging the gap between the people of Meridian and the police department. I have a vision for affordable housing so that we can address the blight in our area while also providing a higher standard of living, improving the quality of life for our residents. I want to empower our youth, continue to empower our youth by investing $25,000 of my mayoral salary to give them something positive to do. As your mayor, I will be proactive in bringing about, when storms happen, we'll have an emergency management task force to make things good.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Now let's hear from Randall Jennings. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Randall Jennings. I am a 1978 graduate of Meridian Public School District, but I'm also a teacher, state certified teacher. And I'm not on this political stump as a politician, I'm on it as a teacher. But my biggest thing is to be able to make people understand that we're trying our best to fix our community. We know Meridian had the prosperity. Mayor Bland, he talks about the business development and the things that are going downtown. We've always had a beautiful business development. Our thing is now that we did not have the quality of life we had the quality of life in regards to education and churches and families and understanding that. But what we are trying to do now is making sure that we get back to where we're building this thing from the ground up. We got to build our school system. We got to make that our priority. And I'm one of those that's from the classroom that's trying to tell students, as a graduate, a nonprofit business owner, an individual that is caring about the community. When I came back home in 2006, I ran a youth program called Communities and Schools Together, CAST, C-A-S-T. Understanding that what we were trying to do with our community, it was an all-boys program. The Department of Justice had told us if we didn't do anything, our boys are going to be in this condition that we're seeing them in now. So I'm just trying my best to make sure that we can fix our infrastructure. Infrastructure to me starts with the people first. I just believe our people need to be fixed, understood exactly what our needs are, understood how to improve the quality of life, whether they are home ownership and what have you. So on April the 6th, go down to the polls and let's change this thing. We understand what Meridian once was, could be, or is becoming, but allow ourselves to not leave the people behind. On April the 6th, vote Randall Jennings as your mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And now let's hear from Jimmy Smith.
Good evening again. Thank you for y'all having this program today. Again, my name is Jimmy Smith. I'm a resident of Lawley County in the city of Meridian. I've been here over 50 years. I've served on the Board of Supervisors for only over 20 years and on the police department 10. I bring a practical leadership to this forum, making sure that the people are safe. We need to make sure that this community is safe for everybody. We don't have the security that we ought to have in this city. We need to make sure, by making sure that we have the right people in place, we need to clean up this city. This city is, I believe that we've made some attempts to do that here lately, but we need to clean this city every single day. We need to have people doing their jobs. I mean, I'm concerned that we got to have somebody say, call 1-800-POTHOLE to make sure potholes get filled. You got city employees that's working every single day, policemen, public works that's going every single day over these streets. They don't know where the potholes are. I can tell you, I can go down every other street and fill them because my vehicle is constantly bumping over those holes. Again, I'm Jimmy Smith. On April the 6th, I please ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your opening remarks. We ask community leaders, business folks, regular citizenry to send us some questions to ask our mayoral candidates, and we have a list here. No one has seen the list except myself, and we'll pick up with that right now. This is from a local community leader, and each candidate will have a chance to address this issue. What is your specific plan for dealing with the appearance and safety conditions of the city? For example, litter, cigarette butts all over the town, abandoned houses, abandoned cars, garbage strewn all over the streets. What neighborhoods look like third world countries? Can you take us to a clean city environment? Mayor Bland, let's begin with you, sir.
First of all, we have a code enforcement office that handles that in community development. We have people that go out and enforce these type of ordinances across our city. We will continue to do that. We have a blight elimination program where we've already demolished over 25 properties this year, and we have 25 more ready to go. It takes funding from the city council to even demolish more properties, but that is part of our plan to continue to do. These things help our police department because when you eliminate blight, when you put new housing on those lots, it helps improve the crime rates in our city. So we will continue using our code enforcement officers to deal with this issue, and we want to make Meridian cleaner. We continue to do that on a daily basis, and we will continue to do that over the next 4 years.
Ms. Houston, same question.
Great. This is one of the reasons why I have the vision of the Youth Empowerment Initiative, where we put some money in the pockets of our youth. Yes, we do have a code enforcement branch, community development, and sometimes they're not able to keep up with all of the properties and things that we have going on. If we partner with like the Boys and Girls Club, Carter Foundation, other youth organizations, get other people to invest into this particular initiative where we put our young people to work. Public Works can come in and cut those yards, and we'll have our youth, pay our youth to keep it maintained, and then also put them to work with helping us keep the litter and trash picked up. We have enough young folks in our city that are willing and looking for opportunities and a reason to stay here. If given the opportunity to be your mayor, we'll employ them and make them part of the solution so that we can move Meridian in a different direction.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, how would you clean up the city?
First of all, in 2006, we came home to try to get our young people to understand that there are some other things that you could be doing with your idle time. And so therefore, not only just a summer initiative, but it's just a program that we could have done years ago as far as trying to get our young people that was becoming young adults, showing them responsibility, showing them exactly how the neighborhoods were taking care of themselves, showing them exactly if you live in public housing, there has to be a value to it, showing them that at some point in time, this is your community, this is your neighborhood. And so therefore, when we come together as a unified body of people, and we understand exactly what we want to do, we can not only just use our older young people to be able to help us be able to not only just help clean up our city, our code enforcement agency to show them exactly where the potholes and the blights are, but also to be able to make sure that our neighborhoods are just not being rampant and run by people that are basically doing a lot of illegal stuff in our neighborhoods. So I have a vested way of being able to understand how to use the body of people to understand how we're going to take care of our city.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Would you prepare the question again, read the question again, please?
Sure.
I want to make sure.
What is your specific plan in dealing with the appearance and safety conditions of the city? How can you take us into a cleaner city environment?
Well, apparently to me, nobody's doing anything because they said that there's a force encoding officers that's out there, and I've seen a vehicle parked on the street without a motor for over a year, and not even one single ticket was put on it. I've not seen Keep America Beautiful involved in any of the processes of the city. I don't know why we don't have that program anymore. I mean, we are in desperate need of cleaning up our city. It's just horrible. I've never seen it like it is today. I don't understand why we have not done the job that we ought to do. I mean, every administration before this administration, the streets have been clean. There have been sweeping trucks on the streets, sweeping the streets. We don't have any of that today. So I'm concerned that we're not doing the job that we ought to have been doing all the time. Thank you.
Next question, and Ms. Houston, you'll be the first to answer this one. How do you plan to reduce crime and the perception of crime in our city? Businesses and attractions are being closed because residents are afraid to go to certain locations due to reports of gunshots, murders, robberies, etc. How will you help us take us to a safer city?
Thank you for that question. Again, my vision for a community policing advisory council will be made up of individuals who actually have a vested interest in Meridian. The Meridian Police Department, the Sheriff's Department. I'll ask each council member to send someone from their particular wards to sit on this particular council so we can hear the voice from all across this city. We'll ask the Panhellenic Council, the NAACP, and other organizations to have a seat at this table so that together we can address the issues, we can pull our resources together, we can hear exactly what's going on, and we'll know where to send our officers. Training will be a big deal for me. We'll have to make sure that our officers have the training that they need, and then getting our reserves officers back on track and getting them more involved in the process. If given the opportunity, I'll make sure that we have the people at the table to help us fight crime.
Mr. Jennings, how do you make Meridian safer?
Meridian has become safe based on the fact that all our people are involved. And once we get our people involved, then we understand that the city belongs to the people. We just will be elected to take care of responsibilities as far as going downtown, city government. But to get our safe streets back, we have to make sure that our young people understand that there's a destination that they're to be going in, and it's not to our streets and picking up guns and gangs and drugs. What we have to do is making sure that we have all the necessary tools that we need to go after the people, to give them the resources that they need to help our community, because a community is based on, the safety of a community is based upon the people that we produce. And we're producing right now something that we're not proud of, because the gangs have grown to levels that we're afraid of. Economic growth is based upon the fact that if we don't have the level, if we have a quality education system, economic growth will come our way. In fact, they'll be able to know that their workforce development will be there. So therefore, we have to make sure that we understand what we're trying to do to try and help our city. Use the people.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, first of all, I've had law enforcement experience, and I don't see that our police officers are doing what they need to do, and that's policing the community. They need to know the community. They need to understand who they're working for and what they're doing in the community. I have been told that policemen, some, not all, have a GPS in their car to locate an address in the city because they don't know where it is. That's ridiculous. We ought to have police that are trained properly in getting around the city and answering calls, making sure that our city is secure. It's unfortunate that we have had the chaos with that police department last year. That's unnecessary. We ought to make sure that we got good people in the places where they need to be and let them do their jobs.
Okay. Mr. Bland?
First of all, we have a new chief, Chris Reed. I think he's doing a great job. He's getting out there, being active in the community, but also we're providing him as an administration the technology needed. We have new camera systems all across town. We have new technology in the vehicles of our officers. We're going to continue to provide Chief Reed and his team the technology they need to deal with the crime in our community. And again, these things didn't just happen overnight. A lot of the issues that are happening in our streets start in the home, and we want to utilize our Parks and Rec department to provide a lot of our young people opportunities so they don't have to deter to crime, and we will continue to do that. Also, as I communicated in regards to community development, we will continue to do things in community development to eliminate blight and to eliminate a lot of the things that end up being issues in our community as it relates to housing, and we will do a great job of that going into the future.
Okay. Mr. Jennings, you'll answer this one next. This comes from one of our local business owners. One of the greatest challenges facing Meridian is our recent inability to recruit major industry. We have industry, but some are operating at a minimum now, while others have completely shut down. There seems to be nothing to replace them. What is your plan to address this issue?
Thanks for the question. First of all, we've got to go back and realize that industry only comes into a city based upon the needs that they can to provide what it is that they're offering. And so therefore, Meridian has always offered a strong workforce base, whether it been General Motors, whether it been Lockheed Martin, or whether it been what have you. So we have not been able to gather major industry to look our way because they're afraid that we can't produce the workforce development. Our education system is at an all-time low. Our communities are at an all-time low as far as the condition that they're in. And so therefore, it seems as though we're not producing what they're needing in order to be able to get their economic interest into the city of Meridian. And so Mississippi has always had this problem, but we also had a system where we knew exactly how to fix it, prepare themselves for an industry to be interested in coming in here, because General Motors just didn't wake up one day and realize Meridian was the place to be. They knew what we were producing. What happened, I can't tell you, but I can tell you we can go back and fix it and produce what they need.
Mr. Smith?
What we did several years ago, we had a committee that described or defined economic development. And that's how we ended up with the EMBDC, because we had a joint committee to get the elected officials and the business folks together and discuss what economic development is in the city, whether it's industrial development or commercial development. And now what we need is that same group to get together again and talk about what the community needs to have and look at developing interest in industrial development, because we've got plenty commercial development, but we need industrial development where somebody can have one job and feed their family the way they should.
Mr. Bland?
We have a 500-acre industrial site that we plan to market and sell to businesses over the next 4 years. We're going to bring new jobs to our city. We have done a great job, even throughout COVID and this pandemic, bringing jobs here and also keeping our sales tax revenues up. We're going to continue to do those things. If elected as mayor and with the right city council, I will push for funding the EMBDC to the level of contributions that it needs to take for us to compete with Hattiesburg, Columbus, and other places across the state of Mississippi. From the standpoint that I stand on as mayor, it takes that type of contribution level and commitment from all of us to give them the tools that they need to go out and to compete against these other cities that are bringing in more jobs than we are. If elected mayor, that's what I plan to do over the next 4 years.
Ms. Houston?
One thing that I've noticed is that our cheerleaders need to be louder than our critics. And our governing bodies, between the mayor's office and the city council, we have got to get along. When the business communities and industry see that we're at odds with each other and we can't even conduct business, why would they come here? Which is one of the reasons why my economic development task force is going to be vital to us bringing industry, becoming more attractive for industry to want to be here. This economic development task force will be made up of the EMBDC, our public safety officials, we'll have Meridian Public School District, the county school district represented, and also other leading entities, so that when businesses and industry won't come to us, we'll load up the bus and we'll go to them and let them know that Meridian is open and we want your business.
Mr. Smith, this question will be for you to answer first. What would be your proposal to deal with the homeless situation, the homeless population in Meridian?
Well, first of all, I would develop a task force with the police department and also the 501c3 businesses or organizations that exist in our city, and look at, because some of those folks are not homeless. They're using us as a community, and it's about all of us. I would make sure that that task force addresses the needs of those individuals that need help. But then I would make sure that those folks that are using our community by way of making a living, I'd make sure that we prosecute those folks. I think that everybody feels bad about people that's homeless or whatever, and you're supposed to help them. But you got to make sure you're not being used, and that's what we got to do, is make sure that our community is not being used. And I've heard that people tell me that they have saw van loads of people with bicycles and bags to go through the town and make money.
Mr. Bland?
Our chief, Chief Chris Reed, is addressing that issue. He has met with business owners. He's met with the 501c3s and other public agencies. He's also met with a group out of Jackson to communicate some of our issues in Meridian as it relates to our homeless population. We're going to continue to work with these agencies to provide relief, but we're also going to continue to enforce our codes and ordinances as it relates to the things that some of these homeless populations are doing around our businesses and in our city. So those are some of the things that we have addressed and we will continue to address as we move forward, to improve the quality of lives of our people in the city of Meridian, and to address also at the same time our homeless population.
Ms. Houston?
As it relates to the homeless population, there are organizations that are designed to deal with that population. There was an organization that came down and talked with us, and we've been trying to utilize those resources. But if given the opportunity to be your next mayor, we want to have some creative ideas of if they really want to become homeowners. We have all this blight across the city. Not all of the homes need to be torn down. Maybe there's a partnership that we can develop with Meridian Housing Authority, Habitat for Humanity, and even our contractors, our local contractors. This is a message that I have put out there that if we can work together, putting the unity back in community, and our homeless population is part of that. No, we don't want them destroying our business community. No, we don't want folks just dropping them off here, but we got to sit down at the table to see how we can do something about it.
Mr. Jennings?
First of all, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a Christian. I'm a man of God that loves the Lord and understands what God told us. He says 3 things your community should take care of. He said the fatherless, the widows, and the foreigners. And right now, our homeless fall in either one of those categories. And so what I see us being able to do is getting our churches back involved, getting our community back involved, getting our people back involved with all of this blight that we're seeing. They're using the blighted homes to even live in. So we understand exactly why the homelessness is existing. But what we don't understand is what are we doing with our community? What can we do with our community to help us understand exactly there's some problem that's going on? Our churches got to wake up. They're on every block in every neighborhood, but they have very little existence because their doors are not open. But the homeless are everywhere around them. So if our churches go back to being churches, doing what they're supposed to do, then we'll be able to find resources and ways to be able to service the needs of homeless people.
Okay, our next question comes from a downtown business merchant. Downtown Meridian has a rich architectural history. Given the proven economic impact of historical preservation and the number of buildings in danger of collapse, what measures to salvage and market these buildings rather than lose them to neglect would you have, Mayor Bland?
We're going to continue to work closely with our community development department. And also we have committees and we have boards that serve that purpose. We have continued to work with the State Historic Preservation Committee and those people in Jackson. But what we're trying to do is those buildings, those ones that are still available, we are trying to market them and to sell them, because what we're doing transforming downtown is creating a lot more activity, a lot more housing needs, and we want to see entrepreneurs and developers come into downtown as they are continuing to do and open up small businesses, and also provide some opportunity for housing needs in downtown, because there's so much activity going on downtown, and we have had a total transformation of downtown. So that's what I would like to see happen.
Ms. Houston?
I think that as it relates to our downtown structures, Meridian downtown is a beautiful place. And in order for us to hold on to some of that heritage and that history, we have to make sure, again, that we're putting unity in community and bringing people together that have a vested interest in preserving those buildings. We can talk about all day long what we would like to see and then put it out there and then nothing happens. We have to have the right people having the right conversations at the table so that we can be proactive, whether we are selling it and marketing it, or if we have a real game plan to bring those buildings back to life so that as downtown begins to boom, those areas can be booming as well.
Mr. Jennings?
Economic development in Meridian has always been, the small business has always been the heartbeat of where we are. And so we've always known that, even to the point where we had, when it was a diverse situation, when the blacks was on one side and whites was on the other one. We even built a business district called Fifth Street, which means that we allowed our people to come together to try and service the needs of their needs as far as what they had. I think if we're going to preserve any of these buildings, we got to first of all teach our young people ways and allow them to be able to gain certification, skills, and what have you, so they can basically become creative thinkers, become creative business owners. And if we allow them, the whole city is what I'm going back again. I keep talking about this because I want us to understand, our people are not gone, they're not dead, they're just not being used. And so if we're going to understand exactly what needs to be done, let's do it.
Mr. Smith?
Well, you know, I'm concerned that we're not doing enough with the buildings that's downtown, that's vacant. I recall a fire that occurred not too long ago. And we spent a lot of money on the debris. We shouldn't be doing that. I mean, to me, that's wasteful. We should be taking care of those buildings downtown before they get in that deplorable situation. We ought to make sure that every building is taken care of. The property owners ought to be notified and made sure aware of what's wrong with the buildings, and make sure that they're paying the property taxes that's on it. I don't think that the taxpayers of the city of Meridian ought to pay for everything that happens to those buildings. I think it's the property owner's responsibility.
Ms. Houston, you will answer this one first. Do you have any plans to implement some type of covenants or incentives that encourage businesses to maintain their properties in ways that complement the current revitalization going on?
I think it's important that when we talk about revitalizing and changing codes and when we get grants, when whatever is happening in our city to bring about improvement, being able to be an effective communicator, whether we like the conversation or not, is going to be vital to getting everybody to buy into the vision. If we do not have community buy-in with our businesses where they feel comfortable and they trust that what we say we're going to do is going to happen, no matter the amount of incentives or whatever we throw at them will not matter. If given the opportunity to be your next mayor, I'll make sure that we have effective communication so that we can sit down at the table and find out what they would like. What incentive would entice them to say, hey, let's do what we have to do as a community to make us more appealing and attractive so that others will want to come here?
Mr. Jennings?
Would you repeat the question, sir?
Yes. Do you have any plans to implement some type of covenants or incentives that encourages businesses to maintain their properties in ways to complement the current revitalization of the city?
The revitalization of the city is going well downtown. But there's 3 wards that I'm concerned about, wards 2, 3, and 4. And that's the area that we're beginning to see more and more blight. We're beginning to see more and more situations where there's no business opportunities. We begin to see more and more, less and less inactiveness of the people. And so therefore, to incentivize people, we want them to understand that if we can provide them the type of security they're looking for, they'll be able to, most businesses maintain their own businesses. It's just in the neighborhoods that we go to that we don't see a lot of that. And so what I'm saying is to give incentives to young people, business owners, as far as understanding what they're trying to do. The biggest thing is to make sure they understand that we care as a community. We care about as a people in the community. And so therefore, if we care about it, then we got to figure out some kind of way to use our people to make sure everybody understands we all on one accord and we're not just spread it out.
Mr. Smith?
Well, I've served on several committees for the city. The Historical Reservation Committee. There's things already there in place to make sure that the property owners downtown maintain their property, make sure that their color schemes are proper. And I think that there's a lot of policies and procedures that's in place that the city's just not enforcing. They're not doing what they need to do. I mean, to me, it's plain and simple. There are laws that they are not maintaining and enforcing in the general public of making sure that the city is clean and kept clean. Thank you.
Mr. Bland?
Yes, sir. We will continue to move forward with the council and with the right council to possibly get some of the things that we want to put on the table to incentivize people, especially first-time home buyers, especially our police and firemen and also our school teachers and nurses. We want to put some programs in place to allow these home buyers to have incentives so that they can build a house or purchase a new property inside the city. So we will be putting those proposals on the table in this next term. Hopefully we will have the council that will move forward with some of these plans, and we can incentivize some of our people to build homes or buy new homes inside the city. As far as commercial businesses, we have done a solid job in incentivizing developers and other commercial entrepreneurs to do business inside the city, and we will continue to do that.
Okay, Mr. Jennings, you'll answer this one first. This is from a local community leader. How will you bring us a community development department that is staffed with qualified personnel who are structured to meet the needs of residents?
Currently, Meridian supposedly already have a community development department. And we believe that Ms. Carmichael and those who are in that area are doing the best that they can as far as what we have. What I cannot understand is that are we concentrating on one area? Or are we looking at the entire city? And so that's what's been scary about what we've been witnessing. Our community development department has the necessary personnel in place, but we can't just focus our concentration on one area. We've got an entire city that we got to be concerned about, and right now it's only seems as though 22nd Avenue, Cedar Ward Parkway, all the way up to Anderson is the only concentration that we got, and that's not benefiting the city of Meridian at all, because if you turn one block to the right or one block to the left, and there's blight everywhere in that one block turn, whichever way you go, it's not saying a whole lot about us as a city leader. So I just know that we need to change that, and we need to make sure that everybody's on one accord.
Mr. Smith?
Well, number one, I think they need training. I believe that when you got people in a department, they need to be trained. They need to be able to go out and look at things and know what they're looking at. And I don't believe that those people in that department are trained properly. It's just that plain and simple. They need training and educating about what their job is. I'm not saying that one person is worse than another, but I just said that everybody needs to be educated and trained on their jobs, in every job, not just the police, but every job. Thank you.
Mr. Bland?
Sure. What's the question?
How would you bring us a community development department that is staffed with qualified personnel who are structured to meet the needs of the residents? This came from a local community leader.
So we are staffed properly with the amount of funding that we do have. We have eliminated a lot of blight. We've also serviced some areas in town that, to me, as a mayor, we had not put any attention to in the past. A lot of those areas are in Ward 2, where the past supervisor served as supervisor. We dealt with a lot of issues with dilapidated housing and street repair and streets in those areas, and we are continuing to deal with them. But it takes the correct amount of funding in that department, and we do probably need a few more staff members in community development. But the things that they are doing right now to enforce the codes and to deal with this blight elimination program and the plans we have for the future for housing initiatives, we will be moving forward on those things if I'm elected mayor for 4 more years.
Ms. Houston?
When it comes to community development and every other department, it begins with the head. We have to make sure that we have the right people in the right position. And as it relates to putting department heads and people in place to make sure that they're hiring qualified folks, we want to have a hiring board that is made up of the HR department from the 3 top employers here in the city, which is the Naval Air Station, Meridian Public School District, the housing, our hospitals, and have them at the table to help us make sure that we're picking the right people, qualified folks. So when we talk about making sure that the community development department is staffed with qualified people, we've done an excellent job in making sure that we've made this place inviting for our visitors. I want to be the mayor that puts a focus on the home team, and that begins with having the right people in the right position doing the right things.
Okay. Mr. Smith, you will answer this one first. What are our educational opportunities and challenges in Meridian from elementary to higher education?
Well, I think that, I think our teachers get a bad rap as far as education is concerned. I think we have very good teachers, and I think that we need to work on communication skills with our kids and our parents. Parents have a responsibility to make sure that their child is attending school and behaving properly. Because if, I've heard horror stories about parents coming up to school talking about they want to whoop a teacher. That's outrageous. I've never heard that before. I mean, I think that's something that we need to deal with. We need to do appropriate training in nurturing parents and making sure that they understand they have a responsibility to bring their child to school and that child behaves properly. Thank you.
Mr. Bland?
Support. We need to continue to give the superintendent and the school board support. We need to all do a better job at talking about the resources we have in our community like MCC, because all kids are not going to go to a four-year college. We have programs right now in Meridian Public School District that can bridge the gap with some of those students that may not go on to college. That is what I will continue to do as mayor. I will continue to give my time, my money, my resources, and my ability to let people know some of these assets that we have. I think right now it's critical that we start reaching more of our young people to let them know some of the opportunities that they can do with their own hands, so that, you know, the ones that want to go on to a four-year school can get that right here at home, and then that can provide them a job and opportunity right here in Meridian. And we have those assets available.
Ms. Houston?
Meridian has a wealth of educational opportunities between our private school districts that we have, our Lauderdale County School Districts, which is outside of the city limits, but, you know, economic development, we have to talk about all of that as well. But I will be the mayor that really pushes, just like I do now as your councilwoman. I will push people to choose Meridian Public School District, because if Meridian Public School District fails, this entire community will fail. I want to push to bring diversity back into the Meridian Public School District, and that begins by having the right people on the school board. We need parents that have a vested interest in making sure that Meridian Public School District succeeds, and they are the voice and they know what's going on. We have all these other people on, but we can move forward together.
Mr. Jennings?
Well, you all know this is my cup of tea to have this conversation about this. The Meridian Public School District, although it has its grading from the state level, it's underserved based on the fact that how they're trying to formulate the curriculum, how they're trying to teach the kids as far as what needs to be going on. Meridian Public School District and Park and Recreation were twin sisters for 100 years. In 1986, Park and Recreation went out of the youth service business, and therefore they've been failing ever since. So therefore we know that what's going on as far as in the school system is concerned. We know what's going on as far as the non-interest in the parents. When the school to prison pipeline was alive and well from almost 1995 to 2005, that was a long period of time where we were feeding our own children to the Walnut Grove prison, private prison system. We burned the trust, and we never did try to do a thing called restorative justice. Until we put Park and Recreation back together with our school system as a twin sister, we won't ever fix this problem.
Okay. I think we have time for one more question before we have closing statements. We've answered part of this earlier on, but apparently crime seems to be an extremely big issue. Meridian is ranked number 3 for the highest crime in the state. Crime in our city is out of control. Never a week goes by there's not gunfire in areas of our city. How do you propose to address this issue? Mr. Bland, you first.
We continue to work with state and federal agencies to give us more support here. We continue to use technology and put more cameras in all areas of town. We continue to hire more police officers so they can do the type of patrolling, the type of community policing that we truly need for our community. And we continue to ask each of you guys to help us collectively solve a lot of our crime in our city. This issue, again, a lot of what we see with our young people and our youth, it does start at home, but it takes all of us in this village, in this city, in this community to help deter crime. I will continue to provide my team and my Chief Christopher Reed, with the technology and the resources so that he can manage, develop, and lead the police department. And together, we will continue to move in a direction that we solve our crimes and we improve our crime situation in this city.
Ms. Houston?
Crime is a major concern for all of us. Some things, if we all just tell the truth about it, some things we just cannot police. If I just all of a sudden walk out of my house and start shooting in the air, or if I'm hanging out with my homegirl and we get in some type of argument and things go wrong real fast, some things we cannot police. But if we have our CPAC, what I want to bring to the table, our Community Policing Advisory Council, where we are hosting events with the police department within these communities, getting our neighborhood watch program back up and running in every single ward throughout the city of Meridian. When we include the people in the process and give them a voice to let us know what's truly going on, and so that they don't feel like they don't need to call in, I'm going to be the mayor that says, hey, call in, call in, call in, because when we know where the problems are, we can send the troops and make a difference.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jennings.
In 2006, I came home because I realized that our boys were having a problem coming through our public school system. I created a summer program where it was called CAST, Communities and Schools Together. We already understood that communities were important. If we understood that back then, in 2010, that the U.S. Department of Justice told us right here in Meridian, if we didn't resolve that situation, that school-to-prison pipeline, the crime that we're seeing today is what we're having already. And so I've always tried to tell the truth about it. The city didn't want to hear it then. The city don't even want to hear it now. But we're in a situation now where we got to fix it because it's at our face. It's in front of us, and we got to stop pretending as though it does not exist. Until we put park and recreation back together, until we understand arts and athletics goes hand in hand, and it has been since 1895, we will not ever fix this problem. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, policing, I have some experience in it. And I think one of the things that we need to do is make sure that our city is safe. I realize that technology is out there, but some technology is not worth a dime. And that technology that he's talking about, as far as the cameras, they can't tell you who shot something. They can't tell you one thing. So, I mean, you need to move those cameras around where the real problems are. I was out canvassing this weekend, and I had people ask me, why don't they have the cameras in our communities where we have shootings every day? So that's not everything. Everything or part of the problem is that we're not having the police officers get in the community to know the communities, that they can talk to people and understand what's going on in the community.
Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for answering our questions from our concerned citizens of Meridian. It's now time for our 2-minute closing statements, and we'll begin with Jimmy Smith. Mr. Smith. Thank you again. My name is Jimmy Smith. I've got 30 years of public experience. I've been a supervisor in law enforcement, and I believe this city needs a change. And I believe that I'm that change. I believe I can make a difference in making sure that this city is safe and that we can increase industrial development in this community and make sure that this city is clean. Again, on April the 6th, please consider voting for Jimmy Smith. Thank you. Smith. Randall Jennings, 2 minutes, sir.
I was born and raised here. I watched this whole concept develop and become the metropolis that we say we have. We always had a strong business side. We always had a strong industrial business side, and we always had a strong school system. And so therefore, what happened to it, I cannot tell you, but I'm not here to point fingers. But I can tell you how we can fix it. We got to go back to the community to understand there's 7 major cultural factors that affect our people: education, family, media, religion, business, and government. Those are the things that we understand that's going on. I only mentioned 6, but I can't think of the other. But I'm trying to get us to understand we can fix this problem. We just have to stop burying our head in the sand as though we can't read it to see it. And if you knock one domino down, which is the education system, it affects all the other 6. It'll build all the other 6. So April the 6th, let's make this change. Let's go ahead and fix this thing. I'm not a politician. I'm an educator. But I'm not dumb to the point where the city has a tendency to try to put stuff on you that you're supposed to believe, but you know it don't exist. I like what's going on with everybody that's been in city government. Some of them I even support it. But at the same time, I did not support you to go downtown to just be downtown. We wanted to go downtown and bring the community downtown. And we haven't done that probably since 2008. And our mayor didn't even get to be the first mayor until 2013. But 2008, we saw change coming. We were pushing for change. We got 2 new incumbents with Sister Houston and Mr. Markham, but that wasn't what we was after. Get the community back involved into the city growth. And that's the only way we're going to be able to move this thing. God bless you. On April the 6th, don't forget about me now.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Now we'll hear from Kim Houston.
Nothing about government is plain and simple. Meridian, you have a choice to make in the next few days about who you want to lead this city in a different direction, or if you want to keep going the way that we're going. I have a leadership style that will maximize the untapped potential that's right here in Meridian, the resources that we have right here in Meridian, Mississippi. I have both the life experience and the leadership experience to move this city in a direction that it has never seen before and position her, the queen, to look and act like she's supposed to. I have been right here with you since 2013. I didn't disappear on you. I have been right here answering your call, tending to your needs, hosting community meetings, getting involved with every aspect of this city, even when it wasn't even in my ward. I have been right here serving you, and I will be ready to go to work for you on day one. There's no need to have some training and all of those things. I will be ready on day one to move you in a different direction. And given the opportunity, I will be the mayor who puts the home team first. We've done a lot of talk here today about this, that, and the other. I'm asking for the opportunity to serve you in a different capacity. You have seen how I keep you informed. You have seen how I listen to you and then take those concerns to the administration. I want to be the administration now so that I can make sure that your concerns are being met. I encourage you to follow me on all of my social media platforms. I am there with stories to tell and more details about my platform. Republicans, Democrats, or Independents, come out April 6th and vote for me, Kim Houston.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Percy Bland.
Momentum. That's what we have in this city. I've been your leader through a worldwide pandemic. We have kept our sales tax numbers up even with everything going on across this world. We have improved downtown so now that we can utilize the things with the MAX, the Children's Museum, the 3-foot hotel, a downtown brewery, downtown development. All these things are going to bring money and resources and people into our city. Now we can continue to pave more streets. We've paved over 28 miles of streets in the last couple of years. We have LED lighting throughout this entire city. We don't have the time to go backwards. There are things that happened in the 80s and the 90s that this administration had to start dealing with in 2013. We improved those areas. We're going to continue to improve them, but it takes your support. We have continued to do the things that it takes to move this city forward. We have a lot of momentum, and it has taken decades in this city to create the type of momentum and the things that are happening here in your city. These aren't things that we're just talking about or dreaming about anymore. These are businesses, these are buildings, these are activities that are right here in your hometown. I travel all throughout the state thinking about you. Myself, my wife, Perrin and Demille, we go places always dreaming, always wanting those things to be here in Meridian. Well, they are here. I'm asking again for you to re-elect me as mayor so we can continue the momentum we have, so we can continue to pave more streets, make your city safer by putting more officers on the street and bringing more businesses to this city. We have the opportunity to do that. You have the right leader in place to do that. On April 6th, I'm asking for your vote and your support again to re-elect me, Percy Bland, as mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bland. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here for this Democratic debate. We invited 5 of our candidates here that will be on the ballot on April 6th. 4 showed up. Mr. Tyrone Johnson was unable to be here. If there is a runoff, it will be held April 27th, and the winner of that runoff will then face 2 opponents, a Republican and an independent, in the June 8th general election. Again, we are grateful to Mississippi State University for allowing us to use the Riley Center here in beautiful downtown Meridian for this mayoral debate. Don't forget to vote April 6th in the Democratic primary. Thanks so much for watching, and good night.